up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello and welcome. Today we are going to be chatting about my tippy top favorite makeup products in every single category, with the exception of eyeshadow, because I do have something different planned for that. But these are the products in my collection that have reached holy grail status, the ones that I can't live without, the products that if I were to become a makeup minimalist, these are the ones that would live in my collection, no questions asked. Now, I tried to keep it to at least 3 products in each category, but I'm not gonna lie, this was really hard and some decisions had to be made. But I will have each and every one of these products listed and linked down below in the description box, as well as what I am wearing on my face today. So per usual, if you're ever curious about anything I use in any of my videos here on my channel, always check the description box. I squeeze as much information as I possibly can into that tiny little space. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this because we got a lot of products to chat about. Alright, y'all, so we're just going to take this category by category and I'm going to go in order of application. Now keep in mind, this is not a ranking, we're just chatting about my favorite products. So kicking things off in the primer category, I have 3 of them to share with y'all. And the first one is probably going to come as no surprise to anyone who has watched any of my videos here on my channel, and that is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. I have loved this one since it was released many years ago. I don't know how many of these I have repurchased at this point, but it's a holy grail. It's one that I cannot live without. It is an absolute constant here in my collection. It lives in my everyday makeup drawer, and that's because it's just hydrating and it's grippy. My makeup lasts all day when I wear this. It's a fail-proof primer for me. It doesn't matter the condition of my skin. This is always going to work for me, and it's one that I will continue to repurchase over and over and over. The next one that we have is more of a seasonal favorite of mine, and it's one that I discovered when it was released a couple of years ago, and that is the One Size Secure the Sweat Primer. If you live in South Texas where it is hot, it is humid, you know that in the summer, no matter what skin type you have, you can get sweaty and your makeup can just melt off your face. And this one, combined with a couple of other products that we will chat about in just a few minutes, are absolute must-haves for me in the Texas heat. Now, this can be a little bit finicky, a little bit goes a long way. You need to let it sink into the skin for a good 5 minutes, but once you have this on and you secure it with a couple other products, such as a certain powder and a certain setting spray, your makeup is going to be locked in place all day. It is not going to go anywhere. I have worn this to outside events, I have worn it to concerts where I have been hot, I have been sweaty, I have been active, and my makeup looks good no matter what. I may have mascara running down my face, my hair may be a hot mess, but my makeup is locked in place. I love this one so much. And the last primer that I have to chat about is the Huda Beauty Easy Blur Primer. I love this. I was not a big fan of the foundation that was released with this one, but this primer I think looks absolutely beautiful on the skin. If I've got a little bit of extra texture going on, or I really want to smooth out my forehead and just have like a nice blurred look with my makeup, this has been a go-to for me. It's silicone free, but it has still kind of that silicone slippy feel to it. It doesn't clog my pores, it doesn't break me out, it doesn't mess with the foundation. It extends the longevity, and it's just a beautiful one that I would 100% repurchase. This is still my original one, so I feel like it's holy grail status and I feel like I would repurchase it, but you know, any of these can be knocked out at any time if there's new products that come out, but this one I really do love. Up next, we have glow boosters, and some would argue that you could put these in with primers, but I don't really use mine as primers. I generally use them like underneath a foundation to add a little bit of extra glow, add it into a more mattifying foundation to take away some of that flatness that it gives, and sometimes I even use them as a liquid highlighter on the high points of my cheeks, my nose, and my forehead. So I put them in their own category, and I do have 3 of them, and the first one is going to be my Auric Glow Lust. Again, another one that none of you are surprised about. I absolutely love this product. It's not one that I've loved since it came out. I was a little bit late on the train with this one, but I like this one more than the Charlotte Tilbury, more than the e.l.f. I just feel like it is a fail-proof, elevated, luxurious product that looks beautiful on my skin. It looks beautiful mixed in with the foundation. It never thins it out or messes with the consistency, and it has just this beautiful glow to it. It never looks greasy. It never looks heavy on my skin. It's not sticky. It's not tacky, and it just has like this most beautiful beautiful sheen that it gives it, and I absolutely love it. It does come in several different shades. I have mine in the shade Morganite, and it's just the lightest one, and it's the one that works out best for me. But up next is an OG, and this one is one that has been around for even longer than Charlotte Tilbury, and I feel like it's the one that really did start it all. And this is the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion. This is another one that just looks beautiful on the skin. This one's a little bit more hydrating than the other two in this category. I like to wear this one on its own, and there was a while there that I was wearing this more so as a foundation because I just love the way that it looked on my skin. It takes away any little dullness that I have on. It's very lightweight. This one does work really nicely mixed into foundations. I don't know why I put it over top the Auric. I apologize. It does work really nice mixed into foundations, but I personally like this one under foundations. This one can thin out a foundation formula just a little bit more than the Auric one does, but it's just beautiful on the skin. It's super affordable. It has a wide shade range. I think they recently expanded it. And again, it's another one that I have purchased a couple of times at this point, but this is a large bottle. It's hard to go through, so I think it's probably only my second one. And the last one in this category is a newer favorite of mine that came out last year, and it's this one from Catrice. This is the Soft Glam Filter Fluid Glow Booster. Now this one I feel like rivals the Charlotte Tilbury and the e.l.f. one, but this one is a much thinner formula. I like the undertones of this one. I've noticed that the ones from e.l.f. and Charlotte Tilbury are very yellowy, very warm and undertone, and in case you haven't noticed, I am a pretty fair gal. I have very cool undertones, and it can be really hard for me to pull those off, especially mixed in with a foundation or under a foundation, because it can kind of alter the shade, and this one doesn't do it. And this one is super lightweight as well. I'm not the biggest fan of a doe foot applicator just because I feel like it's a little unsanitary. I mean, I know it's going on my face, which is clean, but I would prefer a pump if I'm being completely honest. But for such an affordable product, this one's under 10 bucks. I can't remember exactly how much it is. It is beautiful. If you were to put this product in a different bottle, slap a different label on it, personally, I would never know the difference, and I would probably pay 20-30 bucks for this product because it is that good. So that's going to bring us to foundation, and this was by far one of the hardest categories for me to narrow down, and that's simply because I love foundation. It is one of my favorite products to test out and share with y'all, and I have so many of them in my collection that I absolutely love. I could easily give you a top 10. In fact, let me know if that's something that you want to see, but I was really proud of myself because I managed to narrow this down to 4. I know I said I was trying to stick to 3, but I just couldn't do 3. I couldn't decide which one of these I wanted to kick out of here, so you're gonna get 4 of them today. And the first one is going to be my Chantecaille Future Skin Gel Foundation. Are we surprised? No, because this is the pinnacle of foundations to me. This is the one that I compare everything else to because I love the way that this looks on my skin. No matter what skin day I am having, this looks good no matter what. If I'm extra dry, if I'm a little bit normal, if it's the summertime and I'm feeling a little bit more sweaty and greasy, if I've got some extra texture going on, if I want my base to look absolutely perfected, this is the one that I go for. Now keep in mind, I am 39 years old. I have normal to dry leaning skin, and I like my foundation to have a light to medium coverage, and generally I want it to be hydrating but still have more of a natural skin finish, and this one ticks off every single box. Yes, this has a hefty price tag, but for me, it's 100% worth it, and Chantecaille does sales throughout the year, so if you're interested in this foundation in particular, wait for a sale. It's gonna come. I know last year in December, they were having 30% off of everything, and that's where I got some other products to try out, so I love this one. It is one that I could never be without. So my next one is a newer one to the market and one that I have fallen head over heels in love with, and that's the newest stick foundation from Dior. Now this is called the Dior Forever Skin Perfect Face Stick, and y'all, that's exactly what this is. This is a skin perfect face stick. It is so creamy, so lightweight and hydrating on the skin, but not so hydrating to where if you have more oily skin that you can't use it. It just makes your skin look very perfected, very natural, but this is going to give you more of a medium coverage. You can build it up to almost a full coverage, but not quite there. So if you're wanting like a full beat moment, this is still not going to be the one for you. In fact, I don't really have any full coverage foundations in this category. I can give you some if you want some full coverage favorites though, but this one just looks beautiful on the skin. I feel like Dior always does such a good job with their foundations, but they really knocked it out of the park with this one. I don't know what is in this foundation, but it just looks beautiful on my skin no matter what. And this one really rivals the Chantecaille. It's one of those that I kind of go back and forth between which one do I like more, and it's really hard to decide between the two. So this next one is by far the most affordable foundation in my collection, and it really surprised me because I didn't expect to love it as much as I do, but it's the e.l.f. Soft Glam Foundation. This just looks beautiful on the skin. It is very lightweight. It gives you a medium buildable coverage. It never looks heavy or cakey on the skin. It's a little bit hydrating, but if I'm feeling really dehydrated, this doesn't actually look the best on my skin, but most days it looks beautiful, and I really just can't get past the fact that it is so incredibly affordable. The shade range isn't the best in this one, but even if you have to purchase 2 shades, it's still a $16 foundation, and in this market, you can't beat that. I have been really impressed with this one. I have used it so many times off and on, and every single time I use it, my foundation looks beautiful, it stays in place all day, and I am quickly reminded why it is a favorite. And the last one that I had to chat about with y'all today is more of a recent favorite that I discovered. It's been out for a little while, but I'm just now getting on this train, so I can't really say that it's a full-on holy grail foundation, but I reached for it so much last month that it definitely deserved an honorable mention and a spotlight moment in today's video, and that is the Merit Stick Foundation. I absolutely love this foundation. It is very lightweight. It's teetering on the line of a skin tint and a more medium coverage foundation. It's very buildable and lightweight on the skin. You can double it as a concealer, and this looks beautiful under my eyes. A lot of times when a foundation doubles as a concealer, it's usually a little too heavy under my eyes, but this one is very creamy, very lightweight. It stays in place. It doesn't sink in, accentuate texture or crepiness under my eyes, and it just looks beautiful on my skin. It is one that I have really been enjoying getting to know, and I'm sure over time it's going to be a top favorite of mine, but for now it just gets sort of an honorable mention. The other 3 are absolute favorites, but like I said, I wanted to mention this one today. So next we have the concealer category, and this is one that I kind of sort of cheated in a little bit because one of these is technically a color corrector, but I don't really have a lot of color correctors in my collection, so I just kind of squeezed it in with this one, and truthfully, I can wear it on its own as a concealer, so it kind of works both ways for me, but it's my Cali Ray Hideaway Serum Concealer Corrector. This is an absolute favorite of mine. I've loved it since it come out. I'm constantly reaching for it. Every time it makes its way out of my everyday makeup drawer, I somehow end up pulling it back in, so it just kind of lives in there now. That's its new home, but this is so incredibly lightweight on the skin. In fact, the consistency of it is really reminiscent of the Chantecaille Future Skin. It has like this really cool like cooling gel-like texture to it, very lightweight and hydrating and just beautiful under the eyes. I really like the shade range of this as well, but keep in mind it is targeted more as a corrector, not so much a concealer, but like I said, I can wear it on its own. I can set it with a little bit of powder. I can wear it under a concealer as more of a brightening moment. I can mix it in with a concealer that's a little bit too dark for me. This is one that there's just so many ways for me to use it, and one that I don't think I could be without. I think if I were to run out of this one, I would 100% run out and purchase a new one. Alright, so now we can get into my actual concealers, and I do have 4 of them, but in my defense, 2 of them I actually like to wear cocktailed together under my eyes more so than on their own. I can wear them on their own, they do look beautiful, but there's something about these 2 formulas together that is just sheer perfection under my eyes, and they're actually the 2 concealers that I am wearing today, and that is going to be the Natasha Denona Hy-Glam Concealer and the Gucci Concealer. I can't remember exactly what this one is called, but it'll be down in the description box. I like the Gucci one on its own under my eyes. I think it looks beautiful. It's very lightweight and hydrating, and I like the Natasha Denona one as well, but this one can be a little finicky for me on its own. It can be a little too heavy and thick at times. It can be a little too dehydrating under my eyes. Like if my under eyes are really, really dry, this can really emphasize that. So that's where the Gucci one comes into play. But the reason I like to mix these two together is on their own, the Gucci one is more of a medium coverage, and the Natasha Denona I feel like is a true full coverage, and I'm not a big fan of a true full coverage under my eyes. So if I mix them together, I just get this most beautiful formula that I absolutely love. So I need to figure out what's in the two of these and how to make my own concealer, because I feel like this would sell like hotcakes for me personally. Next, we have the Westman Atelier Vital Skincare Concealer, and this one came out last year, and y'all, this is an incredibly beautiful concealer. It just looks flawless under the eyes. It is very lightweight, very hydrating, definitely more of a medium coverage to it, and it's one that I don't need to set with powder to make it look beautiful under my eyes. In fact, I like this more unset under my eyes than I do set under my eyes. It never looks dry or crepey under my eyes, but it just looks perfect on its own, very hydrating and just very natural under my eyes. So not a whole lot to say when it comes to concealers. I know what I like and I know what I don't like, and if it doesn't perform, if it's not hydrating, if it doesn't set down, if it doesn't look beautiful and not dry and cakey, then I'm not gonna like it. But the last one that I have is another one that I kind of had to throw in here last minute because it's another one that's very new in my collection, and I reached for over and over and over last month as I was testing it out, and it quickly made its way into my everyday makeup drawer, and that is this one from Chantecaille. This is the Le Camouflage Stylo Anti-Fatigue Corrector Pen. This one has another hefty price tag on it, and while I do absolutely love it, it's one that I would repurchase if it was on sale. It comes in that sort of clicky pen style with like the brush tip applicator, which isn't an absolute favorite of mine, but this has been the concealer that I have been using under my eyes because my under eyes have been extremely dry as of late. They're getting a little bit better because we're getting a little bit more moisture back in the air. We're getting the heat coming back in Houston, but this has been the one that even when my favorites have failed me, this has looked beautiful no matter what. I don't think this is going to be best for the summer because it is so hydrating, and I have a feeling it's just not going to look the best under my eyes, but for those days when my eyes are super dry and I need them to look their best, this is the one that I have been reaching for. Moving on to powder, this category, it was super easy. I do have 4 of them, but one of them is specifically for under my eyes, and that is going to be my Pat McGrath Blurring Under Eye Powder in the shade specifically Baby Pink. I use this every single day. It lives in my drawer. It's in pretty much every single description box and every single video since I picked up this powder. I do have another one that I'm testing out that is on par, but there is nothing that I have found that is as finely milled and lightweight under my eyes as this one. It has a tiny little sheen to it, but that tiny little sheen just makes your under eyes look super natural and flattering and just nice and hydrated under there. Like once you get it under the eyes, it doesn't look glowy. It doesn't look like you have a highlighter under your eyes, but it doesn't look flat matte. And there's just something about this powder that it is just sheer perfection to set my concealer under my eyes, and it's one that I just will never be without. So the next 3 powders are ones that I use to set the rest of my face. I don't use these under my eyes. One of them I can use under my eyes, but I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I always go for my Pat McGrath. But the first one that we have is going to be this one from Hourglass. This is the Veil Translucent Setting Powder, and this is so incredibly beautiful. This is a talc-free powder, but it has like the most beautiful sheen to it. It really sets the makeup down and locks it in place, but it doesn't leave you looking flat, matte, or cakey. It just gives you the most beautiful healthy glow to the skin, and it's one that I absolutely love. The next one that I have is going to be the Kosas Cloud Set powder. It's the pressed powder. It's the baked version. They did come out with a new loose version, and that one is beautiful as well, but not nearly as beautiful as the original one. This one is going to give you more of a matte finish, but it's more of like that natural skin-like matte finish, so it's not going to have the glow to it like the Hourglass one does, but it just looks so airbrush soft and lightweight on the skin. It never makes me look dry or cakey. It never makes me look dehydrated. It just makes my skin look very airbrushed, flawless, and perfected. good. And the last one that I have is going to be an OG. I think this is pretty much everybody's favorite powder. I have yet to find one person that doesn't love this powder, and it's the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder. I love this one. I know she recently came out with a fragrance-free version of this one. I don't know if that one was limited edition or if it's still hanging around. I like the original one. I really like the fragrance in here, but I also don't mind fragrance in my makeup as long as it doesn't linger around and give me a headache or anything like that. But this powder, y'all, this powder is incredibly beautiful. It is the most heavy duty mattifying powder that I have in my collection, so you would think that it's one that I wouldn't love, but it looks beautiful on the skin. I'm actually wearing it today over the Guerlain foundation, which I am testing out. Y'all should see that video going up. I think tomorrow I will be done and able to give you all of my thoughts on that one, but this one I can go in with a brush and get a very light dusting of it. I can really kind of cake it on. It looks beautiful no matter what. It works in the summer. This one paired with the One Size primer that I was telling y'all about, or the One Size powder, but I prefer the Huda Beauty powder. Sheer perfection in the summer. It locks everything in place and it looks beautiful all day long. All right, so now we can get into the fun stuff, which is all of like the color complexion products. So up first we have bronzers, and I did end up splitting this into like cream liquid bronzers and powder bronzers. So I have 3 of them in each category, and up first in the powder category, we have my Tom Ford bronzer. I love this one so much. One of my other favorite ones that I want to kind of mention really quick was the Marc Jacobs Omega bronzer. That one has been discontinued for a really long time, and I never found anything that I loved as much as that one until I found this one, and sadly I think they're discontinuing this one as well, but this one just looks incredibly beautiful on the skin. It looks very soft, very blurred. It's more of a buildable pigmentation. I love the undertone in here. This one is more of a true bronzer for me. Some of these are a little bit more cool tones, some of these are a little bit more contour leaning, but there's just something about this formula that I love. I don't know what it is. I hate that I love it because this has such a hefty price tag on it, but it is what it is. It's an absolute favorite of mine. And the next one that I have is going to be the Fenty Beauty Powder Bronzer. This is like my perfect shade for me, especially if I want more of a softer bronze look. I love how finely milled this is. Again, it's very blurring, very lightweight on the skin, very buildable in pigmentation. This one is a little bit more neutral leaning compared to the Tom Ford one. So if I want something that's not going to be quite as stark and I just want a little flush of color, this is the one that I go to, but it's a beautiful formula. Like, there's only so much you can say about her powder product. It's really hard to mess up a powder bronzer, but I do find more brands do it than not. It just kind of is what it is. And truthfully, it really comes down to shade for me. Since I am so fair, it's really hard to find one that's not super orange on my skin or super yellowy looking and just doesn't make me look like, you know, I've overdone it, or maybe I look a little sickly. So that's kind of another reason why these are falling where they are, more so shade range than it is anything else. But the last one that I have is going to be the Jones Road bronzer, and this one is in the shade Dusty Pink specifically. This looks like it's going to be a blush, and you probably could use it as a blush, but for me personally, this is a beautiful bronzer. If I want something that's going to give me more of a natural flushed look, something like I've been out in the sun, just kind of that natural redness that I get when I'm outside or I'm hot, this is the one that I go for. It is so incredibly beautiful on the skin. It's not quite as finely milled as the one from Fenty and Tom Ford that we just chatted about. This one can be a little bit patchy if you're not really powdered, but I always go over a powdered face with this one specifically, just because, like I said, if I don't, it is going to patch and grab just a little bit, but it does look beautiful on the skin. And I really like the tone of this one more so than anything. It makes it really unique, and if I could find a different formula in this shade, I would probably switch to that, because like I said, for me, it's more so the shade than anything with this one. So moving on to my cream and liquid bronzers, I only have 3 cream bronzers to chat about with y'all. I just didn't have any liquid bronzers in my collection that I was overly excited about, that I felt like really hit that holy grail status. I do really love the newest one from Rare Beauty, but that's one that I really kind of have to think about it when I apply it. I have to be careful how much I put on. I have to be careful how quickly I blend it out. It is a beautiful product, but these are the ones that I can go in willy-nilly and just throw it on my face, blend it out, and I am good to go. So the first one is going to be my NARS Cream Bronzer. I have mine in the lightest shade, which is Laguna 01, and this is gorgeous. It just melts into the skin. It blends in beautifully. It never lifts, patch, grabs, skips. None of these do any of that. None of this disrupt the product underneath, and all three of these work both over and under powder products. That is a must for it to be an absolute favorite cream or liquid product of mine. So I'm just going to get that out of the way now. If it's in here, it works over and under powder products, and that goes for both blushes and highlighters as well. But this one is just beautiful. Now this one is a little bit more pigmented out of the three that I have to chat about, so I don't really have to build this one up on my skin, but if I put on a little bit too much, it just blends out into the skin no problem, and it's just a gorgeous formula and one that I absolutely love. So the next one that I have is going to be a little bit more buildable in pigmentation, and it's going to be a little bit softer as well. So if you're wanting like a full-on bronze moment, this is not going to be the perfect one for you. But this is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. I have mine in the shade light medium because I wanted a little bit more color than the absolute lightest one, but I have loved so hard on this one. It is insanely beautiful on the skin. It's a little bit more of a balmy texture to it. It's not super liquidy or sticky on the skin or anything like that. It dries down to where it doesn't feel sticky, but it doesn't dry down to a full-on powder finish, but it just looks so beautiful on the skin. Very seamless, very effortless. It is a true absolute favorite of mine. And the last one is going to be the newest one from Dior. This is the Dior Forever Skin Contour Sculpt Stick. I have mine in the lightest shade, which is light. And this one is definitely more of a contour shade for me. It has a little bit more of a cool undertone to it, but this is beautiful. This is one of those that you can actually swipe it on the cheek and it won't lift anything. Even if you have a powdered face, I have done it time and time again. And again, it just blends into the skin. It melts with the rest of the products on your face, and it just leaves the most beautiful bronzy contour moment. I do more of a bronze tour moment with this one, and this one I find as far as pigmentation goes lies somewhere in between the NARS and the Makeup by Mario, but this formula is just incredibly beautiful, very sophisticated, elevated. It is from a luxury brand, so it's a little bit more on the pricey side, but in my eyes it is 100% worth it because it just looks that beautiful and it's so easy to manipulate on the skin. For blushes, I also have these split into two categories, so we're going to go ahead and start with powder blushes, and this is another one of those, it's really hard to mess up a powder blush formula. I have so many in my collection that I absolutely love, but I went into this looking for ones that I have multiple shades in, ones that I would reach for over and over, and ones that I would truly repurchase if I had to start all the way over. So the first one that I have is going to be the Pat McGrath Labs Divine Blushes. I only have mine in minis because it was the first time I had ever tried the formula, but I quickly fell in love with this. It is so beautiful on the skin. My favorite shade out of the two that I have is Divine Rose, and this is like my perfect everyday blush shade. If I could only have one blush in my collection, this is the one that I would have, because to me this goes with everything no matter what I do. It's perfect for my cool undertones. It's buildable in pigmentation. It's very soft and blurring on the cheeks. It never fades throughout the day. I don't have to worry about it patching or lifting my products underneath, and it just has this really pretty almost sheen to the skin. It's not a true matte formula, but I wouldn't call it like a sparkly formula either. It just looks so beautiful on the cheek, and I love how buildable this formula is. The next one that I have is going to come to us from Too Faced, and these are the Cloud Crush Blurring Blushes. These came out a couple of years ago at this point, and I love this formula. The only reason I don't have more of these in my collection is because blush has been having a moment, and I just keep purchasing the new ones instead of repurchasing favorites. But you see how it once again has that beautiful sheen to it. It's very blurring on the cheeks. These are a little bit more pigmented than the other two in this category, but if I go in with a big fluffy brush and just tap it off really good, I can really build this up on my cheek. And once again, it's very soft, it's very blurring, it has that little bit of a sheen to it, and these don't fade on me throughout the day either. And then the last one that I have pretty much all the same things to say about this formula. I mean, what else can you say about a good blush formula? But it's going to be the Blush is Life blushes from Kosas, and I pulled mine out in the shade Hype. Again, another one that I could have every single shade in this formula if the blushes would just slow down and we would quit getting so many new ones released. But this is a gorgeous formula. I love a baked blush. It's one of my favorites because I find these to be very easy to diffuse on the cheek. They are very buildable in pigmentation, and this one has a little bit more sheen than the other ones do. And this is one that I like to put on if I'm just not in the mood for a highlighter, but I still want a glowy cheek. This is the formula that I will reach to, and I just really enjoy these three. Like I said, I've got a lot of blushes in my collection, but to me, these are three standout formulas. For cream and liquid blushes, I have 3 of them that I pulled, and this is a category that I'm kind of picky with because I want it to perform both over and under a powder product, just like I said earlier with the bronzers. And I have lots of formulas in my collection that I love, but these are the ones that stand out to me. These are the ones that I have multiple shades in, the ones that I reach for over and over, and the ones that I would hands down repurchase if I lost every single blush in my collection. That was kind of the mindset I had going into this entire video. So the first one that we have is going to be our one and only cream blush, and it's the Rhode Pocket blushes. Are these a little chunky and is the packaging a little cheap? Absolutely, but the formula in here is so good. These are very pigmented. A little bit goes a long way, so I like to put a little bit on my hand and then pick it up from there with a brush and kind of blend it out onto my skin. Or if it's one of the darker shades, I'll pick it up with a sponge just so it kind of dilutes the dye load a little bit. It makes it a little bit softer, but I can still get that same kind of shade on my cheek. But these blend out just beautifully. They are seamless into the skin. They look nice and blurring. They do dry down. They don't dry down to like a full powder finish, but they dry down enough to where they're not sticky on the skin. They don't fade throughout the day. And these can also be used on the lips as well. And I find a lot of cheek products that double as a lip product to not really be super comfortable on the lips. They can usually be a little bit drying, or they have like this weird kind of funky taste to them when you lick your lips. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And these don't do that. They don't dry down. You are going to have to like reapply it throughout the day if you put it on your lips, but it makes for a really pretty monochromatic moment, and I really enjoy these. I have every single shade with the exception of the one that she had for her New York pop-up. She had brought it back, and apparently getting on the website right when it launched was too late because I did not snag that one. But moving on to liquids, I have 2 formulas to talk about. And the first one, it comes to us from Hourglass. This is the Unreal Liquid Blush, and this is a gorgeous formula. This is a serum blush, so it's going to be a little bit glowy on the skin. Again, it's not going to dry down to a powder finish. It's still going to have that really pretty like wet look to it, but it's not going to be sticky on the cheek. I'm not a big fan of like this dropper style applicator, but at the same time I do kind of like it because you can get just the tiniest amount, but these blend out beautifully. Once again, these are very pigmented. This will do both of my cheeks and then probably more if I needed it to. So these are ones that while I do like to go in with a brush or my finger, I really like to go in with these with a sponge. I've just found these to be a little bit easier for me, especially with the darker shades. And I did get mostly darker shades in this formula because I wanted something different, but this is just beautiful on the cheeks. It lasts all day. It doesn't lift product. It's not so much blurring as it is just healthy skin, and there's a lot of times that that's what I'm going for. And the last one that I have is a formula that I really liked when it first launched and I first tried it out, but recently I've fallen in love with it a little bit more. I have reached for it several times at this point, and I have several different shades in my Sephora cart, and I'm just waiting for a sale. And it's the blush filters from Huda Beauty. I pulled mine out in the shade Ube Cream because it's the newest one. This is such a beautiful formula. Now, I am not a fan of this weird little hourglass shaped applicator. I also don't like dabbing this directly on my cheeks, especially if I'm going over a powder product, because it can dry down just a little bit too fast and can kind of be hard to work with. But I like to go in on the back of my hand. I always do with my liquid formulas or like my stick cream formulas, just because it's easier to pick it up. I can distribute it on my brush a little bit easier, but this just blends out beautifully. It's very soft. This is probably the most buildable as far as pigmentation goes out of these 3 formulas that we've chatted about, but I love the shade range of these as well. And these dry down a little bit more than the hourglass ones right here, but not quite as much as the ones from Rhode do. They're kind of like a nice middle road. None of these dry down to a full-on powder finish, which I'm okay with, but they are pigmented enough that you can go over top with a powder and they can still shine through, they can still peek through, and of course you can always reiterate it a little bit more by going over top. But all of these formulas I really do love, in all the blushes actually, and the only reason that I don't have more shades, like I said, is because we've just got blushes coming at us left and right, and I'm wanting to try those instead of picking up more of my favorites, just because I love trying new formulas and sharing them with y'all. And for highlighters, I also split these into two categories. So starting with the powders, I do have 3 of them. And powder highlighters are another one that I either love it or I hate it. It's really hard to be kind of meh for me. As long as it's really smooth on the cheeks and very reflective and it's not glittery, chunky, or emphasizing texture, I absolutely love it. So when I went through my collection, once again, I pulled the ones that I would repurchase if I lost anything, the ones that I just can't live without, and the ones that are just absolute favorites in my collection and kind of make my heart pitter patter a little bit. I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but I love highlighter as well. So the first one that I have is one that I've actually repurchased, and it's this one from Maybelline. This came out years and years and years ago. This is the Master Chrome highlighter, and I have mine in the shade, I don't know, it's 250. I think it's like Molten something, I don't know. Anyways, it doesn't matter which shade you get. This is a beautiful, beautiful formula, very affordable from the drugstore. It's nice and smooth. It has like this really kind of creamy texture to it, but it's not wet, and it is blinding on the skin, y'all. Like, this is not one for a subtle lit from within glow. I am still living in 2016. I love to be beaming. I love to be seen from outer space. Every now and then I'm here for a subtle glow, but if I'm gonna put a highlighter on and put that much effort into my makeup, I want you to see it, but I don't want a stripe on my face either. That's another stipulation to a really good highlighter, and this one just looks beautiful on my skin, but look at that whenever the light hits it. Oh, it is so, so beautiful. The next one that we have is going to be another OG classic, a fave of mine for such a long time. It's the Fenty Diamond Bomb. This one comes in 2 different shades. I have How Many Carats, and this is just like the most wet looking sparkly highlighter ever. Like, it looks like it's going to be super glittery, and it's not. It is just wildly reflective. Let me put it in a better place so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's just one of those that when the light hits it, it just gives almost like that Cullen skin, you know, like I'm a vampire, this is the skin of a killer type look, but just a little elevated, very sophisticated. It's not chunky. I don't get like glitter going everywhere, and it just looks so incredibly beautiful on the cheek. So many people have tried to replicate this highlighter, and I have yet to find one that is nearly as good as this one is. It's just an absolutely gorgeous formula, and one that I would repurchase if it was out of my collection. Now the last one is the one that I'm having a little bit of a love affair moment with right now, and that's mostly because of the shade of it, but the formula is incredible as well, and it's this one from Gucci. These came out last year, and these are beautiful. These are not like just boring subtle highlighters from a luxury brand. These are pretty blinding on the skin. The shades are really fun. Like, this one is in the shade, what are you, lavender, I think? Frosted Lilac is the shade of this one, and at the time you just weren't seeing shades like this from luxury brands, but look at how blinding that is. It is incredibly smooth. It almost has like this little bit of like a silver flip to it when you put it on the cheek, and the texture of this is so incredibly smooth as well. I love this formula. Again, I would pick up more shades if there weren't so many products coming out and I wasn't obsessed with trying out new things, but such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful formula from a luxury brand. I'm going to be so sparkly when I'm done with this video, but moving on to creams and liquids, I only have 2 in this category, and that is because I am very, very picky when it comes to a cream or liquid highlighter. Generally, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I have started to branch out and try more of them, but there's still really only 2 formulas that I am absolutely in love with. And the first one is more of a cream formula. It's the Super Shock highlighters from ColourPop. I mean, these are the OG. They've been around forever. This, I think, was probably one of the first highlighters I ever purchased, and then I went on to, what was it, Champagne Pop from Beckham. But this is such a good formula, and I find that the ColourPop Super Shock highlighters in particular don't dry out nearly as fast as the blushes and the eyeshadows do. For some reason, those just don't last very long for me, but like this one in particular, I've had this one for probably 4 years at least at this point. It is still very creamy. You see how smooth and blinding it is, and these just blend in so nicely. So as long as you keep the top on, these will last for a really long time, and there's 1,000,001 colors of these bad boys. It seems like every collection there's a limited edition one. Yes, you can probably dupe it throughout the line, but they're fun, they're affordable, and they're just absolutely absolutely beautiful on the cheeks. And the last one that we have is going to be a liquid highlighter, and this is the one that really kind of kicked off my new found love for liquid highlighters, and I have yet to find one nearly as good as this one, but it's the Dior Forever Glow Maximizer. I have mine in the shade pink, and this truly is the most user-friendly liquid highlighter I have ever used. It looks beautiful on the skin. You can build it up to be blinding. You can really kind of sheer it out to make it to where it's a little bit more on the subtle side, but it just melts into the skin. It's not glittery, it doesn't patch, it doesn't lift, it doesn't pill. It melts into the skin and it looks beautiful all day long. You can even use this one on the eyes as like a little added extra pop in the center or even in the center corner. I have very, what's the word I'm looking for? Sensitive eyes. Hello, duh. I have very sensitive eyes, and this doesn't irritate them if I put it on over top, but it is just the most gorgeous, gorgeous formula. Very user-friendly as far as a liquid highlighter goes. So next I have a couple of face palettes that I wanted to mention, and I almost didn't include these in this video because I feel like face palettes are usually standalone products within a line, kind of brought into one nice little convenient palette, but these are ones that are staples in my collection. One of them I have repurchased several times at this point, and the other one lives in my everyday makeup drawer, so I felt like they were worthy of a mention in this video. And the first one is going to be my Auric Mirage Shift face palette. I absolutely love this bad boy. If you have watched my channel, you know that this lives in my drawer. It's in so many of my description boxes. This is the palette that I go for if I am testing out a new foundation and I'm not setting it. It's like day one and we're just trying the foundation on its own. I reach into this because I know it's not going to fail me. And if there's an issue, it's with the foundation, not with this palette. This is also what I reach for if I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my eyes that day, but I need to put some color on my face. I'm going to go for this palette. This is truly the one that if everything in my collection got wiped out and I was told you have to get absolute minimum staples in your collection, I would get this over all of the bronzers, highlighters, and blushes that I just mentioned because it's that good. The formula in here is very buildable in pigmentation. It is definitely more on the sheer side, so if you like punchy color, this is not going to be for you, but it melts into the skin. It does dry down, but only to where it's not sticky on the skin. It doesn't look flat or matte on the skin. It still has that beautiful kind of skin-like sheen to it, and this balm over here is so cool. It is very balmy. It's a lot like a Vaseline consistency, and you can mix it in with these over here and kind of sheer out the coverage or give it an extra glow to it. But once you put it on the skin, it is a little bit kind of, like I said, balmy and sticky, but it dries down and it's no longer sticky, but you still have that glass-like skin going on. And the other palette that I wanted to mention is one that easily could have gone in with my powders because this is a finishing powder and you can purchase it as a standalone, and I probably would once I run out of this, but it is a product that I have repurchased several times at this point and it lives in my everyday makeup drawer. I reach for it so much. It's my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Trio palette. I just love this bad boy, and look at that pan in the middle. That is the shade that I want to finish very soon, and when I do, I'll probably just repurchase the one shade. I don't think I'd repurchase the whole palette, but it is a gorgeous palette. I love the formula in here. I love the soft glow that it gives my skin after I finish my makeup. It just really melts everything together. So if you feel like something's looking a little harsh, your face is looking a little dehydrated, a little powdery, put a little bit of this on with a big fluffy brush and you are good to go. It never makes me look greasy. It never makes my makeup break up. It doesn't mess with the longevity. It doesn't mess with any of that. It just adds a beautiful glow. There's a reason that Hourglass powders are so popular. It's because it is a gorgeous formula. And again, it's another one of those products out there that other brands have tried to kind of recreate and they just haven't even come close. It's the OG for a reason. All right, so we've got 3 setting sprays slash makeup mists to chat about, and then we are done with complexion and we can move on to everything else. So the first one that I have to chat about is one that I use every single day for every single look that I do. It is my MAC Fix Plus. I love this product. I have used it for years and years and years. It's one of those I use to kind of spray my brush before I put any kind of sparkle, shimmer, multi-chrome, duochrome, whatever on my lid, just so I can alleviate fallout. But this is also one of those I like to kind of refresh my makeup throughout the day, if I'm feeling a little dry, a little dehydrated, if I want to mesh all of my products together. There's just nothing else that I have found that does it like this product, and it's one that I have repurchased over and over. It's an OG, it's a love of mine. What else can I say? Now, as far as actual setting sprays that are going to extend the wear of my makeup, I have two of them, and the first one is the One Size Until Dawn setting spray. Absolute favorite of mine. This is like the heavy duty stuff. If you do not want your makeup to budge, this is your girl right here. This one combined with the primer that we talked about earlier, the setting powder, and this, your makeup is going absolutely nowhere. It will stay on. This does feel a little bit like hairspray when you first apply it, but once you kind of move your face around and it dries really good, it's fine. It's undetectable. You can't feel it. And there's a reason that this is so hard to find. Like, it is always sold out. I need to get it back up because I'm almost done with that one. And the last one that I have is another one that is very new to my collection, but I love it. I find it to work really, really well. It's kind of a twofer. It meshes everything together, but it also extends the longevity of my makeup. And it's the newest one from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Impeccable Setting Spray. The mister is very fine on here. It doesn't have a fragrance to it. It'll drench the skin, but it's not going to leave water droplets. It's not going to mess everything up. Like I said, it's going to kind of mesh everything together and lock your makeup in place all day. So those are my three favorites. These are the ones that I would repurchase over and over and over, and will always be in my collection, at least until I find something that's just better than these. So, you know, things can always change. Okay, so we've got a couple of eye categories to chat about, and then we can move on to lips and we will be done. So starting with eyeshadow primers, I only have two, and that's because these are the only two that I absolutely love. I have switched it up from time to time, but I always end up going back to these two because these work for me every single time without fail. I have very oily eyelids. They're more mature. I've got some wrinkles and crinkles going on, a little bit of hooding. I've got a lot to work with, and I want my shadow to stay in place. I want it to be locked down. I don't want it to crease. I don't want it to fade. I don't want glitter all over my face. These are what I use. So it's my MAC Paint Pot in the shade Painterly and my NYX Glitter Primer. Holy Grail duo right here. It does the job every single time. All right, so moving on to brow products, I have four of them to share with y'all. I have two pencils and two gels, and honestly, I'm not super picky about my brow products, and the reason is I have very low maintenance brows at this point. I am a victim of the 90s brow. I do not have much to work with, and actually I had them microbladed on several years ago at this point, so when I reach for a brow product, I strictly want it to reiterate color lost where my brows have faded a little bit, because I am wildly overdue for a touch-up with my brows, and I also want a brow gel that's going to give me a little bit of fullness and volume back to my brows. So I'm not trying to build a brow, and I am not trying to tame any kind of fluffy, squirrely, thick brows on my face. So if you are somebody that falls into either of those categories, I'm not going to be the best person for brow recommendations. Just keep that in mind. So let's start with the two pencils that I have. So the first one is going to be the Kristen Dominique Brow Frame Pencil. I love this one. The shape is so incredibly cool. It has like this really interesting kind of wedge shape going on. When this one came out, it was like the first brand that actually did it. I feel like now we've seen a little bit more of this, but this is so easy to use. I can kind of turn it on its side and really get some hair-like strokes in my brows and fill in the front. I can turn it to the side and kind of trace my brow, or I can fill it in, and it just works every single time. It's not so super pigmented where it can really get away from me. I love how soft this is on my brow. But another one that I really love is from NYX. This is the Powder Louder Brow Pencil, and this is a lot like a brow powder in a pencil form. It is very soft in pigmentation, and this one reminds me of one that Lancome had years ago. I can't remember the name of it. I loved it. It was the same kind of formula, very soft, very powdery, and they discontinued it, and it killed me because I loved the way that worked for my brows, and at that point I was actually building a brow. But this is so nice. It's just a traditional pencil. It does have the little spoolie on the other end, but very easy to work with, very buildable in pigmentation, and I just like the way that it fills in my brows. Now, as far as gels go, I have two of them. I've tried out several of them at this point, and honestly, I like all of them. Some of them are a little bit more pigmented than others. Some of them pick up a lot more product than others. So these are the ones that I find to be most user-friendly. These are ones that I can just go in really quick and I don't have to worry about it. So the first one is going to come to us from ABH. This is the tinted volumizing brow gel, and this is really, really nice. This is the one that I'm wearing in my brows today, but I love this little brush because just the one side has the little spikes to it, and it picks up minimal product, so you don't have to worry about it getting clumpy and glumpy all up in the front of your brow and kind of overdoing it. This just brushes through really nicely, and I really enjoy this one. As far as hold goes, I do feel like this one has some hold, but I wouldn't say it's a maximum hold. I don't have like a brow freeze or anything like that. And then the other one is another newer one that launched recently, and it's this one from Maybelline. This is the Super Fluff Brow Mousse, and this one is another one I have been reaching for so many times. It has more of like a traditional spoolie on it, but again, it doesn't pick up so much product where it just gets clumpy and glumpy in the front of your brows. It goes through really nicely. It distributes really evenly. I think this one has just a little bit more hold than the one from ABH does, but again, I'm not the best person to judge that, so don't quote me on it. If you're looking to freeze your brows in place, I don't think these are going to be the best choices, but if you want to give a little bit of fullness and volume back to the brows, these are great. The ABH one more specifically because it has those little fibers in it, and so it really kind of fluffs them up a little bit more, but I've really been enjoying those brow products, and I think my brows look good as of late. All right, so for eyeliners, I went ahead and split this into two categories. So I have liquid and I have pencil, and we're gonna start with the traditional pencil eyeliners because I have 3 of them to share with y'all, and I love all 3 of these for the same reasons. They're all very creamy. They glide on my lids without pulling, tugging, or skipping, and I have time to manipulate them before they dry down, and once they dry down, they are not moving. They are locked in and they are staying in place all day. These don't budge, they don't smudge, they don't transfer, and they don't irritate my eyes, and that is a very important key factor, is that they don't irritate my eyes, because I have tried many eyeliners that instantly make my eyes water, and then it's just downhill from there. So the first one that we have is my Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal Liner. Are we surprised? No, I absolutely love these, and honestly, if they had every color that I was looking for, this would be the only formula I would have in my collection, and that's saying a lot because these have a hefty little price tag on them. But I just love how creamy these are, how beautiful they are on the lid, and they're just sheer perfection, but they don't have every single color I'm looking for. But if I want more of my neutral colors, my browns, my blacks, or maybe like a little pop of color, that's what I'm going to go for. But if I want something that's going to be more bright, fun, and colorful for my more adventurous eye looks, my more colorful eye looks, I'm going to go into these two right here. So we've got the ColourPop Cream Gel Liners and the NYX Epic Wear Liners. I love both of them for the same reasons, but it depends on the shade that I'm going to as to which formula I'm going to reach in, because while ColourPop has a wide range, they don't have every single color, and the same goes for the NYX Epic Wear Liners. They just don't have every single shade. But between these 3 formulas, I can get pretty much every single shade that I want. So for liquid liners, I have 2 of them, and the first one I don't have physically in front of me. I do have one in my backup drawer, but I wasn't going to open it up just for this video, so I'll put a picture up of it so you can see what it looks like. But it's the Glamlight Calligrapher Liner, and it is such a good liner, y'all. It is very easy to work with. It's nice and pigmented, very black. It doesn't dry down to a matte finish, which I personally love. It's very flattering on the eyes, but it's a very wet formula, and it does take a little bit of time to dry down. So if you're in a hurry, it may not be the absolute best one, because there's been times that I've gone in with that one and gone in with a lash curler too quick and it lifts off my liquid liner. So I have to have a little bit more time for that one. But the good thing about it taking a little bit more time to dry down is that you have time to kind of manipulate it. If you do your wing too big, or maybe you put it on a little too thick, you can kind of mess with it before it dries down, because once it dries down, it is locked in place and going nowhere. It doesn't transfer, it doesn't irritate my eyes, and even if my eyes start to water a little bit, which they usually do water, I have very watery eyes, it won't budge. It will if I start to cry and like rub my eyes, of course, but just watery eyes, it'll stay in place. But the other one that I love, and this is an absolute favorite, I have purchased it several times, I actually need to repurchase another one, it's my ZC Liquid Liner. I got this one in a subscription box, and I have fallen in love with it because this one is so incredibly precise and easy to work with, and it never fails me. I reach for it over and over and over. I have tried out several liquid liner formulas at this point, and this is just my favorite one. I am not very good at liquid liner. I am by no means the queen of the wing. I am very challenged when it comes to liquid liner, and for me to be able to get this one to work every single time speaks volumes. So I really, really love this one. And lastly, in the eye category, we have mascaras, and I do have 3 of them to share with y'all. So the first one is my absolute favorite. It's the one that if I only had one mascara in my collection, this would be it. I wish it came in brown. I wish it came in waterproof, but it doesn't, which is why I have 2 other ones to chat about. But it's going to be my Armani Eyes to Kill mascara. This is the one that I'm wearing today. I have repurchased this one over and over and over, and it's been a hot minute since I used this one, simply because I had other mascaras that I was testing out, but this one gives the perfect amount of length and volume. It doesn't clump on me, it doesn't flake, it doesn't transfer, it doesn't irritate my eyes. If my eyes are just watery, it'll stay in place, but obviously if I'm crying, it will melt off. But hands down, absolute favorite. I have loved this one for years. Now, as far as the other 2 go, like I said, if that one came in brown or waterproof or both, I wouldn't need these other 2. But if I am having really watery eyes, say they are just puddling, they are pooling, it's really hot outside, I'm going somewhere where I know I'm going to be a little bit of an emotional mess, I'm going to go for this one from Lancome. This is the Adult Lash Waterproof Mascara. It is not the most lengthening or volumizing in the world. It gives you more of a natural lash, but this holds up hands down, no questions asked. It is going nowhere, which is why it's a favorite of mine, because like I said, I do have very, very watery eyes. It has a really interesting kind of wand to it, not my absolute favorite, which is why it's not the most lengthening or volumizing, but it does coat the lashes really well, and you can build up on it, and it doesn't ever clump on me. So that's a really good staple one that I always have in my collection for if I need a waterproof mascara. And my last one is going to be my L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara. I have repurchased this one several times as well. I love it in the waterproof, the regular, the brown, the black. There's a new one that just came out in this formula that I did purchase that I'm eager to try, but this has been my go-to brown mascara lately, and the reason this one has been my go-to is because this one is fairly affordable. I love the one from Tower 28 in the brown, and I love the one from YSL in the brown, but I don't use brown as often as I use black, and for the price point, I just can't justify those. So those are beautiful formulas. They are favorites of mine, but for a brown formula, this is the one that I've been going to. It's just a really good one, and I love the way that it looks on my lashes. All right, so jumping into lip products, I went ahead and split this up into different categories yet again. So we've got liners, traditional lipsticks, liquid lipsticks, lip glosses, balms, and lip oils. And before we jump into this, let me just preface this by saying I have very dry lips. They are dusty, they are crusty, they are always craving hydration. I drink a lot of water and I put something on my lips all the time, but it's just the way that it is. So I look for something that doesn't accentuate that, something that hydrates my lips, and if it's going to lock down and stay in place like a liquid lipstick, it's not going to be super drying and uncomfortable on my lips. But let's go ahead and jump into this. So starting with lip liners, I have 3 of them. So the first one is going to be the Charlotte Tilbury lip liners. I love these. They're creamy, they glide on beautifully. I like the shades of them. They lock in place, they don't transfer, and it's a really good formula. The next one is going to be the MAC lip liners. I have loved these for years and years and years. There's so many different colors. These are a little bit more on the stiff side, so I like to warm it up on the back of my hand first, but they go on really nicely and they stay in place all day. And if I want something that's a little bit more fun as far as color goes, I go for the Unearthly lip liners. These are so creamy and they go on really nicely. The formula reminds me a lot of the Charlotte Tilbury ones, but I can get more fun colors than the ones from Unearthly, and these are ridiculously affordable. These are, I think, like $8 or $9 a piece, and you can't beat that because look at how long this is, and this isn't even how long it is when you first get it. I have sharpened this one several times at this point, but like here's one that I haven't sharpened quite as much. Like look at how much pencil you get in there. That is a lot of pencil for under $10. So incredible formula. If you're looking for something a little out of the ordinary, Unearthly is the place to go. All right, so moving on to lipsticks, these are like your traditional ones. So these aren't liquid lipsticks, they're not lip stains or anything like that. These are traditionally bullet style lipsticks, and these I'm not super picky about. These are just the ones that I have multiple colors of, ones that I reach for over and over. Maybe it comes down to specific shades or whatever, but the formulas are great. So the first one is going to be, once again, Miss Charlotte Tilbury, and I believe this is the Kissing formula. Red Carpet Pink is my absolute favorite shade. I love this one, but it's such a comfortable formula. It has a really pretty satin sheen to it, hydrating on the lips. It has really good staying power. You are going to have to reapply this, but I find that it wears off very evenly. The next one is going to be MAC. Any MAC lipstick. All the formulas are fantastic. This one is in one of the cream lipsticks. It's in the shade Blankety, which is my favorite one. Very comfortable. Again, it has a nice satin finish to it, very hydrating. It wears off evenly. It lasts a good while. I feel like this one has a little bit more staying power than the Charlotte Tilbury does, but they're all going to wear off. And the last one is going to be the Effortless Lips from Revie Beauty. I love these. I really want to pick up the rest of the shades, but again, there's been so many new releases coming out, but these truly are effortless. I love the slim style lipstick that this has. You can apply these very sheer. You can build them up to get a little bit more pigmentation. Very hydrating, very comfortable on the lips. The staying power isn't that great. It's kind of a mix between like a balm and a lipstick, so it's a little bit more thin in texture, but it's more pigmented than a balm is going to be. Beautiful, beautiful formula, and I just love the shades that she's brought us in these. For the liquid lipstick slash lip stain category, I did manage to muster up 3 of these, which is really surprising since I'm not a huge fan of liquid lipsticks because they tend to be a little bit more drying, but these are ones that I find to be very comfortable on my lips. And the first one is going to be the Lunar Beauty liquid lipstick formula. This one is in the shade Aphrodite, and this is a gorgeous formula. It locks down and stays in place all day. It is a little bit on the drying side, but it's not so drying where I feel like it's sucking all the moisture out of my lips, and if I go over top of it with a gloss or a balm, I'm 100% okay. The next one is going to come to us from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and these are the Lip Velvets. I have 2 of these at this point, and they have since expanded the shade range, and I love the new shades that they have, but this is a really cool kind of whipped formula. It has like this kind of clay velvety texture to it, a lot like the ones from Odin's Eye and Kaleidos, but this is such a comfortable formula. It locks down and stays in place all day, and these never feel drying on my lips. Even if I don't apply a lip gloss or a lip balm over top, very comfortable on my dry lips. And the last one is more of a stain. It's definitely going to be more hydrating on the lips, but it does dry down to a matte finish, and it's this little guy from Benefit. This is the Plush Tint, and I just love these so much. They are so creamy and easy to apply, and you can see when I first put it on, it has like this really pretty glossy effect. It does dry down, and whenever the overall like film, I say film, I don't know, the overall application wears off, it leaves behind a really pretty stain. So you're not going to get as much opacity with this as you would with the other 2, but if you want just a flush of color that's going to last all day, this is a beautiful formula and one I reach for a lot. All right, so for lip glosses, this was really hard to narrow it down to 3, and that's simply because I don't reach for lip glosses like I used to anymore. There was a time where it was a lip liner and a lip gloss. That was my go-to lip combo, but lately I've really been reaching for a more traditional style lipstick, or I'm going for my balms and my lip oils. So sadly, my lip glosses are getting a little ignored in my collection, but these are formulas that I do really love. I have multiple shades in them. I like how hydrating they are. They're not super thick or sticky. They can be a little bit plumping, but they're not like uncomfortable plumping on my lips, and they're just ones that I reach for. So the first one is going to be, once again, the Lunar Beauty lip glosses. This is such a good formula, y'all. Lots of different shades. I love the packaging on Lunar Beauty in general, but this is a little bit more of a thinner formula. It's very hydrating. It's not super thick. It doesn't do like the weird stringy thing or anything like that, and I really enjoy this formula. The other one is the one that I'm actually wearing today. It has actually since worn off, so I'm going to put a little bit more of it on, but it is the Haus Labs PhD Hybrid Lip Glaze. It's this little guy right here, and this is supposed to be like a lip gloss slash oil hybrid, which is probably why I love it so much, but it's very thin and hydrating on the lips. It has a good amount of pigmentation to it. It doesn't do the weird stringy thingy. It's not super thick and goopy. It's not uncomfortable. And just look at that beautiful color. I love this one so, so much. And the last one is the City Beauty Plumping City Lips Lip Glosses. I can't think of exactly how you say these. The City Lips Plumping Lip Gloss. I got that all mixed up, didn't I? But these are really nice. They definitely have a little bit of a plumping effect, but you can't feel it. I have a very high pain tolerance, but normally I can feel like the tingle with a plumping gloss. I can't feel it with these. There's lots of different shades. They're very opaque, so they're going to give you more of a color load payoff than some of the other ones that we chatted about, but they're very comfortable on the lips. They're a little bit more thick than the other two formulas as well, but they don't do the stringy thing. They don't sit uncomfortably on my lips. There's lots of different shades in these, and they are just a really, really good formula. This one is one of my favorite ones. It's the shade Pink Nude, but I'm going to show you on the back of my hand. So there's a little swatch right there, and you can see how it's a little bit more thicker and a little bit more pigmented than the other ones that we talked about. But once again, beautiful formula. So we've got 2 more lip categories to get through and we are done. So first, let's run through the lip balms because these have been a staple in my collection as of late. I had these everywhere. I had them all over the house, next to my bed, my car, my purse, my son's car, like my gym bag. They are everywhere. And the first one that I have is the Summer Fridays Lip Butter Balms. I love these. This was the product that made me fall in love with a tinted lip balm. I had never really been a big fan of them before, but these are so comfortable on the lips. They are deeply hydrating. These are a little bit thicker than some of the other ones, but they have a really good staying power to them, and you can see they're a little bit more pigmented. I just really enjoy these. These are scented, that they aren't fragrance, so you can smell them when you're on your lips. So if it's not a fragrance that you like, I wouldn't pick it up strictly for the color because you will be able to smell it as it's on your lips, but it's always a pleasant smell. That one's vanilla beige and it's my absolute favorite. The other one that I have is one that I discovered last year, and it's the Rhode Peptide Lip Tints specifically. I haven't tried the original ones, but I like something with a little color to it generally. The next one doesn't have color, but this one does. But I like these because these are a little bit more kind of glossy and thin in texture. They still have a little bit of color to them, but not nearly as much as the ones from Summer Fridays. And these are going to be, like I said, a little bit thinner on the lips, a little bit more hydrating, but not as deeply hydrating. So this is going to give you more of like a quick shot of hydration, whereas this is going to kind of linger on your lips a little bit more all day. So different reasons for each of them, but I do love both of these formulas. And the last one is a very new formula. I think this one came out either the end of last year or the beginning of this year, but it's the ColourPop Fresh Kiss Glossy Lip Balms. And this one is kind of a happy medium between the two. I got mine in like the traditional clear color, so it doesn't have any kind of tint to it. This is the one that I usually keep in my gym bag or on the side of my bed just to kind of throw on my lips, but it's a little bit thicker than the one from Rhode. Like you can see the one from Rhode is kind of sliding down my hand, but it's not quite as thick as over here. We're over here. This one from Summer Fridays, this one's a little bit thicker, but this one's still very comfortable on the lips. It's nice and hydrating. It lasts for a good long time. And with all of these, I find that the hydrating effects do last on my lips beyond whenever they wear off. And that brings us to our last category, which is going to be lip oils. And I only have 2 of them to share with y'all. I do have a long list of formulas that I want to try. So if your favorite formula isn't mentioned, it's probably because I haven't tried it, but I have been on a lip oil kick as of late. And these are the 2 that I have found that I absolutely love and I reach for over and over. In fact, the one from Milk Makeup, the Kush Lip Oil, this is my second one. I ran through the first one really quickly and repurchased it in the same shade because honestly, it doesn't matter which shade. They are all pretty much clear when you put it on. I swatched several of them out in store, and the only one that had a little bit of a tint to it was the one that was a little bit more like on the pinky side. Other than that, they are all pretty much clear on the lips, so it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of your flavor preference. And when I say flavor, I mean smell. But these are very hydrating, very thin on the lips, and I just love how comfortable they are. Like I said, hydrating, thin, I mean, that's what I want from a lip oil. But if I want something with a little bit more pigmentation to it, I'm gonna go with this one from Merit. And this is a pretty new discovery for me, but this is the, what is this? The something gelée tinted lip oil. I can't read it. It's very, very small. And y'all, I'm pretty much blind as a bat. I wear glasses all the time. So whenever I'm sitting here, I literally cannot see more than maybe a foot in front of me, and then it just gets blurry. So reading something that small is very hard, but that was probably more than you wanted to know. But I have mine in the shade Maraschino, and this is such a beautiful formula. Very thin and hydrating, very comparable to the one from Milk, but you see how it has just that soft tint to it. I love this one on days where I don't really want to commit to a lip, but I don't want to look washed out. I don't want that full-on concealer lip that I'm rocking when I first put on my makeup, or maybe I'm going somewhere without any makeup on and I just want a little kind of hint of something on my lips, but I want that added hydration. This is the one that I'm going to go for. I've really been enjoying it. I do want to try the ones from Clarins. I want to try the Guerlain one. I want to try the Dior one. There's several of them that I want to try, but please, please, please leave your favorite lip oils down below in that comment section because I am always looking for a good lip oil. All right, y'all, so that is it. That is all of my tippy top favorite products in my collection, at least in this category. We do still have eyeshadows to get to coming in another video, and that one's gonna be fun because I'm going to split that up between luxury, mainstream, drugstore, indie, C beauty, give you the whole tea with all the formulas and share with you my absolute favorites. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit of a longer one, but leave me some of your favorite products down below. I love getting good recommendations from y'all, and let me know all of your thoughts. Let's have that conversation, light up that comment section. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching my video and spending your time with me. It truly does mean so much to me. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up before you leave. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that notification bell so that you can be notified of all my future posts here on my channel. I do post quite a few videos every single week, and I wouldn't want you to miss one. But until my next video, have a good one. Bye.